Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Carl. Today I'm going to show you part 2 of how to address the issues with bigger tires on your Toyota Tacoma. Let's get this started. As you saw from the last video, the interference between the tire and the fender was addressed, but there's still a little bit of interference between the tire and the frame. And also what I discovered is that the Tacoma has a tendency of leaning more towards the driver's side. And I've done a little bit of research on forums. A lot of the heavier components on the Tacoma, such as the gas tank and the battery, is on the driver's side. So that creates the infamous Tacoma Lean, where the Toyota Tacoma has a tendency of leaning more towards the driver's side. Let's take a look at that real quick. So as you can see on the driver's side here, using the seam and the bumper and the fender, the measurement from the ground to that point is roughly 37.25. And on the passenger side, using the same reference point, that's almost 38. So to address the issue with the Tacoma Lean, I bought this Toytech 1/2-inch strut spacer for the driver's side strut. So the first thing we're gonna do is jack up the truck and put it on jack stands. So the next thing we do is remove the driver's side wheel. Now we're gonna remove the front skid plate and loosen the 2 camber bolts on the lower control arm. Now I'm gonna undo the 2 bolts here on the steering knuckle, and these are also 19s. Next we're gonna undo the bolts that hold the strut. So there's 1 bolt on the lower portion of the strut and 3 nuts on the upper portion of the strut. Now that we have the strut completely free, we should be able to pretty much slide it right out of the assembly. And now that we have the strut removed, I'm gonna disassemble this whole assembly and put in our actual new spacer in here too. So next, we're also going to need these strut spring compressors. The spacer, the new spacer that we're installing here, is coming with new hardware. And to remove this hardware, we'll actually have to disassemble this whole thing. So I took a hammer and pretty much just hammered this right out of the top of this spring assembly. It wasn't too bad. It was actually just seized up because it's cold and hasn't been taken apart for a long time. So now I'm gonna take another hammer and pop these studs right out of this cap here. So I got one of the studs out by applying PB blaster and then torching the area around it. So now we take the studs, we put them into the cap just like so. Take our spacer, put it on top of this cap, and take our other spacer from the lift kit and just install it just like so. So you'll have a stack just like this. So the hardware is actually what's gonna get these studs to press into this cap again. So I hammered it in just a tad bit so that the first teeth will catch, and now I'm just driving it in with the nut itself. And that's it. Now we're just gonna put everything back together. I removed those spacers again to make it easy to drive this nut in. So these are 14mm nuts torqued down to 35 foot-pounds. Now finally we should be able to reassemble everything back up. So we'll start with sliding that strut back in place. So I didn't tighten the upper mounting points of the strut yet so that we can still have a little bit of play when we mount the lower portion. Now I'm going to mount the bolts that hold the steering knuckle onto the lower control arm. And these two bolts on the steering knuckle are tightened down to 118 foot-pounds. And that lower strut mount is tightened down to 61 foot-pounds. So these nuts, we can torque them down to 25 foot-pounds. Then we tighten up those 19mm camber bolts on the lower control arm to 100 foot-pounds. So that pretty much finishes up the installation. You could remount the wheel, remount the skid plate, and drop the truck back to the ground. Okay, don't forget, these wheels have to be torqued down to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, so now that we have the truck back on the ground, let's check our work to see how much we actually got the truck to level out. So if you take a look at the passenger side, take this tape measure, our reference point. Right now we have this side at 39 inches. Let's bring it over to the driver's side. And our driver's side is now also at 39 inches. I'm just gonna rotate the steering wheel to see if we still have that issue with the interference. Alright guys, so as you can see, by putting in that 1/2 inch spacer into the upper strut mount, we were actually able to level out the truck and get rid of that Tacoma Lean. So I'm really happy with the results of how this whole thing came out. Now, just like what I said in the last video, you'll also have to check the toe, because by raising the truck just a slight bit, it might throw off the toe a little bit. So make sure you check out the last video to see how you can check the toe and correct it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this all helped you out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button too, because that really helps me out a lot. So until next time guys, peace out.